Good evening to tonight's episode. Tonight we got 4 speakers, and I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves. Starting by DJ Lippy.
So I'm DJ Lippy, usually known as that gobshite off Twitter. I'm going to be talking about Edinburgh Rape Crisis Centre has decided to hire a male CEO, and it's caused a little bit of an uproar.
Am I next?
Oh,
I don't know. Oh.
Who is
Do it,
next?
Joe.
Oh, okay. All right. So I'm Joe Bartosch,
Yeah.
and I'm a journalist, and I write quite regularly for Lesbian and Gay News, despite being bisexual, and The Critic and Spiked, and I'm going to be talking about the elections.
I'm Chinzia Maria on Twitter. Come and find me. I only have 10 friends, and my daughter, after my last performance, she's completely disowned me. So I need some friends. Come and find me on Twitter.
I'm the famous artist Birdie Rose. I'm an artist. You can find me online, and I'm going to be talking about it's Britain's youngest transgender child. Indeed.
Interesting.
So
We're being hosted obviously by thank you. So we start off with your story, DJ Lippy.
okay, so I'm going to talk about Edinburgh Rape Crisis Centre has just employed male to be their CEO, which has caused a lot of anger amongst women. Just to give a little bit of background about this individual, he began his life at Forth Valley Rape Crisis Centre. He did not disclose at the time that he was male. Usually, how things work in the United Kingdom is the women's sector, they have single-sex exemption, so often a role in management or for a counsellor will be advertised for women only, and that is in law in the United Kingdom, that is adult human female. So this role was advertised for women only. He got the job, and then a little while later he sort of came out. He said nobody knew that I was a man, and you think, well, I'm not so sure about that. But he hasn't got a gender recognition certificate, so he's legally male, so he does not qualify for these roles. Later, the Scottish Nationalist Party selected him, and he was selected from a all-women shortlist, which again is going to irritate people because again that's using a provision in the Equality Act, Schedule 9, Part 1, for women only, adult human females. A couple of months later, he had a paddy threw his toys out the pram because there was an amendment put through the Scottish Parliament. They wanted to change, if a woman was raped, they wanted to be able to choose the sex of their examiner, so to specify I want a woman only. In the law as it stood, it said gender, so that was a bit ambiguous, so somebody put forward an amendment to say, no, this should be sex because we need to be clear about this. So anyway, he abandoned them a couple of months later because he was had a paddy, so now he's joined the Scottish Green Party. And yeah, this is just what I want to talk about basically. And just the sort of total disregard for women's boundaries and women's care, and just this person is just totally inappropriate for the role, regardless of whether or not he's a man, whether or not you believe that men should be able to work in those services. I guess that's a totally different argument. At the end of the day, this fella lied about his sex, and you know, it's I don't know if it's legal for him to be in that position, and he's said some very dubious things. Okay, I'm going to read out some things. So this is just what I found in an article in the student newspaper. I'll just read it out. The work is incredibly emotionally draining, so Wahada has to be balanced and mindful of her own emotional state. We asked her, what does she do to take care of herself? And quote, well, I don't deal with individual survivors every day, so for me, what I do in terms of self-care is a lot of avoidance. I do see survivors for a week usually, who helped me stay connected with the cause. But it's important to keep it fun. We should be able to laugh and use humour in work. And I'm like, I'm sorry, are you counselling women through rape? They're sitting there trying to like ignore the fact that they can tell it's a man, or maybe not, they just feel a bit uncomfortable. Why are you joking with people? Even if you do that, don't sit around and talk about it in an interview. And here's the thing that really takes the biscuit, yeah? So she later says, I don't think men are ready to go out and set up services of this nature. Women's aid organisations and rape crisis centres have been set up with the blood, sweat and tears of women. It's about women's experience of sexual violence. Our workforce is reserved for women only. Yeah, so this is what
that is the funniest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, I mean, he just takes the mickey. And so when they initially they put a tweet out, and basically got so much criticism from women that they had to delete the tweet. So obviously they care about listening to survivors as long as they're the right ones, and then they put it out again. But they stopped people from commenting. So yeah, that's what's been getting my goat this week, really. It just seems like
making women more furious.
Yeah, and just straight up, I feel like straight up trolling us now. You know, this person's been proven to be lying when he got his initial role, and so obviously the people that people at this service must have known he was male, and if they didn't know he was male, well, if they don't know how Google works, do you know what I mean? There's no way they didn't know, so they've obviously put him in here to cause a bit of a stir. So we'll see what comes to that.
So did he lie to get the job? Did he lie about his sex?
Yeah.
So the only reason that anyone would lie about who they are to get a job is because they're getting that job under deceitful means.
Yeah.
They've got bad intentions.
That, or he's so arrogant that he really does. He is a woman, and want anything else. Which one is it?
I think
both bonkers.
I think it's just trans women and women, isn't it? I'm a woman because I say so. It's total male entitlement, and that's the thing that I would stress.
I don't think they believe it. I don't think they believe it at all. I think they just say it and they know that wins the argument. A bit like when you're a kid and you say, I know you are, but what am I? And it's it's a bullshit argument, isn't it?
Yeah.
The Rape Crisis Centre tweeted out how excited they were for mid-roll. Yeah. And I just think, yeah, every Tom, Dick and Harry is going to be excited by this. I just can see a big opening now. There'll be court cases of these men who want what he wants, what he's got, because they've opened the doors. They have, and he's repulsive. There's enough out there of his quotes, repulsive quotes, and his behaviour towards women and vulnerable women and children. How have they done this? But that's what I see is that door opening up to every man who wants a job in a rape crisis centre, and it's going to be a lot of trouble in the next few years.
And I mean, I don't understand why no one is asking why. What's his motivation of all the jobs? Clearly it's about validation, and I think you only have to look at every single sort of woman's prize, every single woman's shortlist. There's always now a chap on it, both so that whoever's running it can show how open-minded they are without realizing that essentially they're facilitating a fetish. And I think it's in a way it's proof that they know he isn't a woman. Because he's not being treated as a woman. He's clearly being treated with male privilege. Yeah. I think it's quite grotesque. And I know the woman that came up with the amendment in the Scottish Parliament, Johan Lamont. She retired. She's resigned. Yeah. Which is such a shame, because she was fabulous and she really held the line and sort of made Hollywood acknowledge that there was a difference between sex and gender. And yeah, she's gone, which is gutting. She said she's not going to come back because she's too old. But she's 15 years younger than Biden, which kind of makes me think, there's definitely a sort of double standard there, isn't there? But
yeah.
Yeah, that is an interesting one.
Do you think she feels that there's too much pressure now? you know, the abuse
Yeah.
that these, you know, women like Joanna Cherry get. I think she just thinks, oh,
She's
that's
kind of gone
such a
quiet, hasn't she?
yeah, it's such a shame because they're the women we need, strong women, you know, willing to, yeah, what a shame. Yeah, thanks, Midroll. Thanks for nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? There was another tweet as well when they put it out. They said something like, "There's this same old tweet." They said, you know, black women are women the same way trans women are women, and it's this constant. I don't know why they keep saying it. It's like, if black women can be women, then men can be women. You know what I mean? Like it's infuriating. It's so, and they keep getting told to stop saying that because it's racist.
That's
Like
what it
why?
is.
Why?
Fuck's sake.
Do you know what I mean? Why do you always say that? It's like we get accused of racism
Yeah.
all the time, but it's like total ignorance of the history of, you know, like Michelle Obama was called a man for all those years. Do you know what I mean? Like all the QAnon nut jobs being like, oh, look at a manly face. Do you know what I mean? And it's like they cannot see their own ignorance in this
Yeah,
matter.
but how dare a white, presumably middle class man in the UK compare himself to a oppressed black woman? Absolutely ridiculous. And to do it with a straight face as well.
Well, he is
Yeah,
I think he's
Oh,
Indian, so I think
gosh, they
No, I
making
mean,
a
like,
good point.
I
They're
mean,
trying to say it.
Yeah.
I don't mean him, I mean like the guys who say this in general.
Yeah.
Oh, I think they love it, don't they?
All these men say this. All these men are always comparing themselves to oppressed black women. It's disgusting.
They're fetishizing black women as well. They get off on it. It's clear that on Twitter, they do it enough on Twitter. They get off on it.
Yeah.
And it's clearly about making themselves sound extra specially vulnerable as well, isn't it?
I don't know. Yes, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I think that is it, part of it as well. It's like they're trying to justify themselves as women by using other what they see as the women, because they're not women. They don't realize that they're women. So if I'm a person of color, a disabled person of color, I'm not a disabled woman. I'm not a woman of color. I'm just a woman. They don't know that, do they? Because they're not women. They're not women.
Yeah. Just
so, should we listen to Joe's topic? Anyone else would like to say anything about the rape centre?
No, it's bollocks. Let's listen to Joe.
Well done.
I'm not sure I'll be any less bollocks, but okay. So yeah, I guess went to vote today. I sort of, you know, feel it's my duty, given the you know, the effort that women went to get the vote, and obviously I feel like it's part of being a good citizen, except I didn't really do my duty and find out much about the candidates standing, seeing as none of the parties can be bothered to find out what a woman is. So we had local elections and police and crime commissioner elections. We didn't have a single woman standing in the police and crime commissioner elections. It was 5 men. And the incumbent is he's an independent, and I organised a hustings event with him a few years ago, and he referred to women as a minority group. And at another event I went to, he it was about Srebrenica, about the massacre at Srebrenica, and rather than talking about the Dayton Peace Accord, he referred to the Danton, which or was it or the brand of yogurt. Daytona yogurt, something like that. Anyway, it was pretty stunning. So I'm not convinced he really ought to be representing us, or indeed in charge of policing budgets. But hey ho. As for the local candidates for the local elections, so we had 5 candidates, 4 men, 1 woman. The Liberal Democrat chap turned up, and we gave him a grilling, and he did appear to know what a woman was, amazingly, but unfortunately he was also a bit homophobic. So I spoiled my ballot in the end, and it just kind of, I suppose it set me thinking, because I realise this is a bit of a leap, but today in Italy, the government tried to force through self-identification, and were rumbled. And in Poland a couple of days ago, an aide to an MP got forced out of her position and forced out of her party. Again, because she's she's a feminist. So it was 2019 that they started really going for her, because she stood up against the sex industry. And latterly, what did she say? She said that she referred to women rather than people with uteri. And the trans activists have come after her. She's been, I think I'd say it's been 3 years. She's finally just said, fuck this, and left, because the MP she was working for didn't stand up for her. She's had death threats, rape threats, all the rest of it. And it's a left-wing party that she's a member of.
Surprise me.
Yeah. And obviously in Poland, abortion's illegal. So you think, Jesus fucking Christ, poor women in Poland are stuck between, like, you know, Catholic, conservative nut jobs on the one hand, taking away their, their human rights in terms of reducing them into fucking breeding machines, and on the other hand, you've got trans activists and sort of, the woke left who won't even acknowledge their personhood and think it's perfectly acceptable to sell women in the sex trade. And same obviously happened in Spain not that long ago with the Deputy Prime Minister, Calvo, I think her name is, who had an effigy of her hung up in a tree, lynched, because she dared stand up to trans ideology. So I realise that's a bit of a kind of whistle stop between local elections and global politics, but I kind of thought it was worth tying up. There you go.
The Srebrenica massacre. I listened to a podcast, and there's a lovely the forensics. They need to know sex. They actually say it in the podcast that, to be able to help the families find their relatives. And she said it in the podcast, and I can't remember what the podcast is called. Maybe we'll put it in the link. But they need, she said sex is so important, and she didn't say gender. She said sex. So it is so important for relatives or missing loved ones. So, but I defaced my vote today. I stuck a Wild Women sticker on it. Yes, I did. Excellent. So, and made my voice heard that way. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well,
sorry.
I did vote. I'm not registered. I haven't been registered yet, but I don't know who I would vote for, because there's just like there's no. All the different parties have
voted for all three candidates.
Sorry, Iris, you're breaking up again. Oh, she's gone.
Oh no.
Did you vote, Birdie?
Yeah, I did. I was really lucky because I had a local candidate that is someone I know, and so I like what she stands for, so I voted for her, and she was independent as well, so that was really good. And then the other two, I just mixed it up. Well, so I just avoided Labour, and do you know what's annoying about it? I avoided Labour, I avoided Lib Dems, and I avoided Greens, and then I thought, well, there is Conservative as well, but as much as Labour, Lib Dems, and Greens don't want to admit that they know what a woman is, Conservatives are not doing that much about it either. To sort of like, they're in power, they could do a lot of things right now, and they're not doing them.
Yeah. They won't talk. They just want to use it. It's a wedge issue with the left, so they know that they can just sit back, watch the left eat itself over this, destroy its support with women, and just fuck up women a little bit, because I think the Tories always love a bit of that. Like, I'm under no illusions that we're in a safe place with anybody on the right. I think right-wing men hate women just as much as left-wing men. They just have a different perception of what our roles are in society, and I just think that they're just trying to play both sides, I suppose, and be like, you know, we're not going to do the Gender Recognition Act, but there's still, I don't know.
I'm not sure if it's like, I'm not sure if everything's like woman hating or if it's not giving much of a shit about our issues, because it don't affect a lot of people that are in certain positions.
I had a canvasser, a Labour canvasser at my door today, and I said about lesbians, you know, that you can't say you're same-sex attracted without being bullied or rape threats online, and you know, that, you know, we want to talk about sex, not gender. We've got Felia in Portsmouth, so she knew that. And she said, I promise you, we will talk about it after the election. And I thought, I don't believe a word you say.
That's politician speak.
Yeah,
that's
we'll
politician
definitely
speak.
Talk about this after. Rubbish. So.
That is what your parents say to you when you want to stay up for an extra hour talking shit. They'll say, we'll talk about it tomorrow after you've gone to bed.
Yeah.
That is a mum thing.
It is.
Yeah, I didn't believe a word, so didn't vote. Well, right, what did you do? You broke up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can she hear us?
Sorry, Chinzia, are you talking to me?
Yeah. What did you do? Did you actually vote?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
Now.
I voted. I chose because my local police one, that I can't remember what it's called, he's actually favours sex over gender, so I was comfortable with picking him. The other candidate, I know my local candidate I can trust. I was that, and I didn't vote for Khan, let's just put it that way. No way I was going to vote for him. And I voted for someone else. I mean, I don't know whether. Well, I voted for Bailey. What's his name? Bailey? Sean. Yeah.
Bailey.
I voted for him. Yeah. Because I didn't want to waste a vote. I know you ladies vote your votes, but I don't agree with that, because you're giving the vote to Khan, really. If you're not voting for somebody, yeah, that's my opinion. But yeah, I didn't want to spoil my ballot.
I think if we were in London, I totally would have voted for Count Binface.
Well, I think the London vote is going to be so split. People standing. You've Binface, you've got Corbyn, you've got who else?
Yeah.
Lawrence Fox.
Yeah, Lawrence Fox as well.
Lawrence Fox. Oh God.
Yeah.
He knows what a woman is.
Yeah.
He does.
He knows what a woman is, but he's just a knob.
He's
I don't know.
pompous.
Yeah, he's an interesting one because I actually quite like him, but every now and again he says something and I go, oh, for fuck's sake,
Yeah.
you're making it harder for me to come out and say I like you because you're saying stuff like this and it's really cringe.
Yeah.
But
At least he's
like,
brave.
yeah, I think he is, and I think like if us saying he's a bit of a knob is the worst thing we can say about him, then he's doing okay.
I feel sorry
compared
for
to a lot of people.
His poor ex-wife, she always trends. If he trends, then they go after Billy Piper, and she's got nothing to do with him now. Just leave her alone. Every time on Twitter, if he's trending, poor Billy as well. just leave his wife alone.
Yeah.
Got to go after the woman, haven't they?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know they were married.
They
No,
were.
me
But
either.
then I don't know anything.
Not now. That's the, he's even
No,
worse. Married to me.
no, they were married.
Yeah.
No, not for years. She's got kids, hasn't she?
Yeah, and she never speaks about him. I think that's, she just wants nothing to do with him. And the Twitterati, they go after the poor woman every time he trends or says something stupid. So just, leave her out of it.
Mm. Well, she's not got the best taste in men, is all I will say about that one.
So,
Okay, Chins, you've got a really interesting story. Do you want to talk about that? Yours?
Yeah. it's depravity of so it's the mum and son incest OnlyFans hustle that went viral. You've got the mum.
That was awkward.
They've cynically posed the son looking at mum's breasts.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Really dark. And then at the bottom, I sort of skimmed through the article. At the bottom, there was quotes from Kerry Katona saying that she gets her daughter, her 13-year-old daughter, to take topless pictures of her to put on.
What?
Now, I just think, come on, everyone. This article shows you what you have to do to make it on this platform, which is sell your soul and your children. It's a soulless, depraved place. And that's what you want. That's what you've got to do on OnlyFans is incest and child abuse. And she was saying, "Oh, I have full control, on OnlyFans." No. You've just given away control of your children. Like you've put your children, your little girl, into very seedy men's minds. And is she being cynical? Do you think she's being done that cynically to put her girl?
I think she knows exactly what she's doing. I think she knows that milk is one of the highest trending subcategories of porn. And she's getting on a little bit, not to be too horrible about it, but if she's got an OnlyFans account, she's you've got to sell it any way you can. And it's really disturbing where they're going with all this and what they're normalizing basically, because I mean, I like hardcore porn, but a few years ago that was the hardcore. And now that's not enough. Now you have to go into all this crazy stuff. And I don't know where we'll be in 10 years' time unless we have a conversation about the normalization of perversion, really, isn't it? Like,
So breaking
really
down
is.
every boundary.
It really is, because like when I was in secondary school, if a boy had been in the newspaper staring at his mum's boobs, that would have been social suicide forever. Like we all would have said he's a weirdo. We all would have taken the piss out of him. He just would have been bullied mercilessly. And I think the fact that this is like some sort of badge of honor nowadays, it's like, what world are we in? That's weird.
I just think this is how you've got to make it on that platform. It's quite clear that you've got to really plummet the depths of sickness to child abuse.
So you think these women are using their children to get the clicks and everything? Because I never even thought of that. I thought it was ignorance, but you've just taken us into a darker place.
Well, that was right at the bottom of the article, and I thought, what are you doing?
It's a publicity stunt, isn't it? To get more clicks, I should say.
Don't use your babies.
It got him in the newspapers though, didn't it? Like that's at the end of the day, that's got how much money publicity wise would that be worth to her? Like I think the media's got its own fault in this, reporting on it and bringing it to everyone's attention. Like it's not, they're not blameless. They know it's clickbait, isn't it? If they put it on there, everyone's going to be like, look at this. But it's again, they're helping to normalise this. Do you know what I mean?
That's it. Yeah.
You've social media entertainers, social media influencers touting. I think his name, Timothy Stokely is the owner of OnlyFans. He's British and he's got a partner. I think he's Russian. I might be wrong about that. Joe will know.
That'll go well.
Joe will know. And so they're touting him as a business partner to our children, because all the kids that they're minors on their Instagram stories, they're all talking about it. My teenager came in and said, "Oh, you earn loads of money on that." So our children know about this platform. He's being touted business partner. He's not. He's a pimp. He's a millionaire pimp. And Joe, as far as I'm concerned, she's the best in the business of journalism, criticising the sex industry. I think you're amazing. I love your work. I think your writing's superb. It's really beautiful.
Thank you.
Yes. How do we bring down millionaire pimps? How does working class mum bring down with these evil men?
There is a legal challenge that's just been sort of crowdfunded for. which is basically to force the government to judicial review to do what it said it was going to do in the Digital Economy Bill, like a couple of years ago now, which is basically to stop kids being able to access porn.
I saw that. Wasn't it a dad and a son?
Yeah, it's a dad who's worried about his sons, and then a woman campaigner.
Yeah, I've read that.
And yeah, so there's.
I think tax exemption, like tax evasion. There's no way these men are paying all their tax, and I just think, is this what we're going to have to do? Is to have to look through and pay for journalists, for solicitors to go through that? Because I will get my purse out, because I think they're so grim, and that they are grooming our kids. That's that.
I used to. No, I don't know.
Passionate about this. It's when your teenagers come home and say, "Oh, this is the place where you your cash." Something.
Well, I think it's what worries me is because it's so normalised. I don't think these girls are thinking of their future. I don't mean to sound like a Puritan here, but I think if you're paying your way through university or like law school doing OnlyFans, when you get into the workplace and there are like videos and things out there with you on it, are you going to get respect? Are you going to get respect from your colleagues? Are you not? And I hate to be the grown up in here, the fuddy duddy saying men will not, like society will not respect you if there are images of you like out there doing all sorts, but it's true. And it's like we can't just pretend we live in this wonderful world where there are no consequences for our actions. And and I think that it's really worrying because girls are just told we're the hateful ones who want to stop them doing it. And it's like, I wish that we could live in a world where we were free and like our sexuality was not judged so much, and everybody would, I don't know. I'm quite a libertarian when it comes to a lot of things, but I just think we have to look at the context within which we live, and like women are not free to just do what they like and not have extreme social consequences as a result of it. We already know.
What's the backlash going to be? What is the backlash going to be in 10 years' time on these young girls? Stalking, being made to do more dangerous acts, like the mental health of these young women.
Obviously, as well, it's contributing to the disassociation from their reality as well, because they're engaging in this parallel world that's happening at the same time as this world and treating it as if it's separate and it never intersects and crosses over. So that's why they're not seeing the consequences later on, because they're treating it as if the internet is another world and you can just shut the door on it and nobody will know. But that's not true.
No, I know a couple of people who have become almost addicted to doing it. So one of the women I knew that did OnlyFans, she's a lesbian, so she has absolutely no interest in men finding her attractive, and yet she had such low self-esteem, and it just got worse and worse and worse the longer she was on there. Effectively, she sort of almost became like, whilst it was sort of kind of multi-layered exploitation, if you like, because she started craving the attention. And she only kind of started to value herself with these really gross men that were wanking after her online, valued her. I mean, absolutely mental. But I can kind of understand, because I think as a young woman, I would have done it. I wouldn't have thought about the consequences. I totally would have done it. It's terrifying. I feel so fucking lucky that I was born after it became a thing. I'm too old, thank fuck.
They're not earning big bucks. If you're having to resort to incest or insinuating incest, you are not earning big money, and it's a big lie. I also think that they so I've had a look at a few of the articles. I think Danny Dyer's daughter was on it, and I think they pay them to lie, to say that they've earned £1 million, and it's all hustle, and
you think so?
Yeah, I do. Iris. I do not trust these men at all. I know enough about pimps.
I think that's the most. I think that's the most egregious part, because a lot of the girls that will do this are doing it because they have no access to money, or they feel like they have no access to money.
A lot of homeless girls, sofa surfing girls doing it, and it's not paying rent. It's just a little bit of money, and they're exposing themselves to so much danger for not very much at all.
And it's been massively pushed. I used to have a job as a media analyst, and I used to get to see Oh, sorry. Do you want to carry on, Alice?
Sorry.
No, I was going to say, you have a job as a media analyst.
No,
Oh,
go on.
oh, and so I'd look at like the Tab and all these kind of like BuzzFeed, Vice, all of these kind of quite youth-orientated publications. All of them had what were essentially PR pieces, like paid content from OnlyFans.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think it's one big hustle, and it's earning their millions.
Wow.
He's branching out into Asia as well.
Wow.
You know, 10 years ago, Joe, you might remember that we had a lot of articles about the exploitation of Thai girls, you know, children as well. It was all over the place. I remember everyone knew that, you know, this is a dark place. It was Western men exploiting, you know, little girls, little Thai girls. And now they're branching out into Asia, and we're supposed to be all, this is brilliant, and it's not. It's so grim. It upsets me so much. It makes me nearly cry, actually. Just that this is going to affect so many little girls and young girls. You know, and that's what. There's minors on it. There's underage on it, and they know it.
Of course.
Yeah, come on, look. We know social media giants, Facebook, that they won't get rid of, you know, porn images, nude images, as if this platform is going to make these girls safe any safer. It's not. They lie through their teeth. They really upset me.
Well,
And it's coming.
Every parent.
It's coming at a time when a lot of jobs that are more accessible, like working in a shop, are being taken over by machines.
Yeah. Absolutely. I've said this before. It used to be able to walk into retail as a working class girl. I walked straight into retail. You didn't have to, you know, sit your exams, and that is not the case anymore. And if you know, you can still be bright and not want to do your exams. Okay, I'm not saying that these girls are dim, but you know, who wants to sit and do Shakespeare at 16? There's not a lot.
No.
That's not. I didn't, and I still don't. So yeah, there's not a lot of jobs for working class girls, and they're being sold a lie by Kerry Katona and Danny Dye's daughter. They're lying, and this article just shows you have to put your children into this platform. This is how you make money. It's so depraved and sick. It's really sick.
But people are exploiting their children all over TV nowadays with reality TV anyway. It's not like they keep their children out of it, is it? They keep their children as a main feature.
Yeah. Well,
so
I mean,
that's been normalised for a while.
What are you watching, Bernie? I don't watch it.
I think like TikTok has been around for a few years, and I think that grooms little girls. My mate's niece has got one, and she had one when she was 5, and she's innocent. She doesn't know. No, she's 5. She's got a little video. She does little dances, and she has no idea. And then my mate said she was looking at her profile, and she's like, "Who are these people following her?" And they're like all old dudes and stuff. And she's like, "This is literally just like profiles of watching little girls dancing, and this has been normalized." And she's grown up now. I think she's 10. She's not grown up, but you know what I mean. Like, but she's been on the platform for years, and for children, they just have no idea, and they see it as this really innocent, you know, place to perform. And yeah, you know, there's this sinister layer underneath of it, and I think that's getting little girls used to like validate. You know, this is how you get validation, isn't it? And when they get older, it's gonna, I think, just sort of turn 18, leave TikTok, go on to OnlyFans. You know, I think it's kind of all connected in a lot of ways. Like a lot of the social media platforms are trying to inculcate this idea, this normalization of like, if you're not getting likes, and if you've not got, you know, fans and followers, then you're not really valid. You know what I mean? You don't really exist. And I think, you know, sadly, I think OnlyFans would exist even if people aren't making money off of it. But I think that kind of beside the point for a lot of young girls. Do you know what I mean? I think, like you were saying, Jill, about the lesbian who obviously has no desire to be seen as sexy by men, but it's just that sort of dopamine rush that you get, don't you? When you, I mean, we do the same. I know. I'll check on this video, like.
Oh yeah, totally.
Got 5 more, but you know, I think like it's not, girls are not being valued for what they're saying. It's all just about how you're looking, and it's you know, really, really sad, I suppose.
Dark times we live in. Normalization of pimping, you know, and pimps and prostituting, you know, underage girls. There's loads.
Yeah.
I looked into it. It's you know, it's known. Just they know it, and they don't take them off their platform. It's just so sad. I just wonder what we're going to be talking about in 10 years' time. Is all the damage, you know?
They'll find
That's a
something
scary thought.
new. Like page 3. They used to. Do you remember what we used to say about page 3? Then they got rid of page 3, so they found a new way to do it all.
Page
So
3 is
it's
quite innocent.
like
You look at it now, you just think, God, it's quite
women.
innocent. Just a bit of titillation. This isn't.
Yeah.
Was that deliberate?
It wasn't. It just came out. It just came out.
Running tinges. I really enjoyed that conversation. Birdie, what was that about
Yep.
tonight?
Well, it's not anything more joyful, is it? Is this Britain's youngest transgender child? It says, I'm just going to read a little bit of it. It says, father of trans boy 4
Oh my goodness.
reveals his
Yeah.
son told him, I'm not a girl, at the age of 2. Of course, because 2-year-olds know exactly what they are. And what's interesting about it is it says here, I'm just reading it off the screen, it says Matthew and his wife Kiara from Doncaster say that their son Stormy, who was born a twin and assigned female gender at birth, of course you're not assigned female gender at birth, you idiot, first began showing signs of identifying as male at just 18 months old. Hear this, right? Guess how they know. Stormy's father says his son hated pigtails and dresses, or even pretty shoes at the age of 2, and told his family, I'm not a girl, I'm a boy. I hated pigtails and dresses. I hated shoes. I'm a girl. Anyway, I find this really interesting because this is a twin. And if we're going to go with the idea that this child was born in the wrong body, why wasn't her twin born in the wrong body? You can't have twins and one of them's in the wrong body and the other one's not. So I find it really astonishing that this is an article basically having a go at people who are not accepting this little girl as a boy, basically.
What's the twin sex? Do you know? Is it the same?
Let's have a look. I'm just skimming through. I don't think it mentioned it.
Both girls.
Both right.
They're both girls, yeah.
Wanted a boy and
They
a
were
girl.
both girls.
That's what parents want,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Or like the kid wants to have a separate identity, and it's like the easy thing to latch onto, isn't it?
Yeah.
At 2.
Well, does anybody remember? I can't remember who the woman was, but there was a woman who works at WPATH, who's like one of the top people in like the transgender medicine, and she was talking about gender messages that babies will send. So they were talking if a little baby girl has a hair clip in her hair and she pulls it out, that little girl is telling you, I'm not a little girl, I'm pulling it out. If a baby has a onesie and they're pulling the poppers out, they're trying to make it a little dress. That's a gender message, and it's just like this is insane. These people are high up in these organisations, and it sounds mad. If you tell somebody that, they're like, "That's bonkers." How the hell would that happen? The little baby doesn't want something in its hair. You don't want you pull your poppers up because it's uncomfortable. Girls, the little girls, she probably just wants to run around. Do you know what I mean? You don't want to wear a dress, not necessarily because you're sending a gender message. You can't do anything when you're wearing a dress.
These are the same people that say that would have said before that their child is gifted and can speak to aliens or some shit like that. You know,
Indigo children. The
Indigo children.
Yeah, I was just thinking of that.
Yeah.
The past life. That was another one. They were creating a past life.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I remember watching documentaries about that when I was a kid. I must have been about 10. In the 90s, that was really popular, the past life one.
Yeah.
So many Cleopatras.
Yeah. who's going along with this idea that 2-year-olds should be given authority on anything, anything whatsoever?
Yeah, well, it's
Parents, seriously.
it's. I think this culture's got a problem with like looking up to children to tell us like what we should be doing. And it's like, I'm sorry, why is Greta Thunberg at the UN giving a speech? She should be at school. Like, I'm not being horrible, but she should be at school. Like, how dare she's like sit there and everybody's like, oh, it's fabulous, and I'm like, she didn't write that speech. She didn't. How does a 16-year-old kid go to the UN? Like, come on, people. Like, this child is being used to put forward a political agenda, and just because it's on our side doesn't make it acceptable. Like, if, you know, if when you see children at outside abortion clinics holding up signs saying like, please don't, you know, kill me, mum, like that, we see that as like a horrible misuse of a child, and I'm sorry, but our side is doing it far worse now. I'm so sick of kids getting up there, and I mean, I don't know, don't get me wrong, like, I do think kids have got a right to have their say, and yeah, there might be some really eloquent kids out there, but seriously, like, we're the grown-ups, we know things that they don't know. You should be looking up to people who are like in their 60s, do you know what I mean? People who've lived and experienced things. I'm not as wise, I mean, I know I'm wiser than I was when I was 20, but you know, I'm people should just respect elders a bit more, because we just got this weird cult of youth where it's like all the kids have got the truth and everybody else is just a fuddy-duddy who's stuck in the dark ages, and it's like they don't know what they're talking about because they're kids. Do you know what I mean? Like,
you've hit on a really good point there, because like we are at a point in society where older people are much more ignored and disrespected than I've ever remembered them being. At the same time, we're holding up little kids as if they know everything and they've got like the enlightened, unearthly knowledge that we need to tap into. It's weird and it's creepy.
I know. Sheila Jeffries recently compared her to one of those sort of visionary medieval saints. You know, sort of one of those suffering young women that's kind of deified. You know, and I kind of knew exactly what she meant. There is something kind of the way that she's kind of the kind of cult of personality and the myth around her and all the rest of it. And I think she's just a poor adolescent kid who's being kind of propped up at the front of a cause.
I don't think this is going to have consequences later on down the line.
She should be out, you know, having fun, teenage kicks, not giving us lectures.
Drinking cider in a bus stop.
Yes, I wrote about this on Twitter today, actually, because I actually got a message in my inbox from a teenager. First of all, starting off with, you know, I'm really disappointed that you're posting all this transphobic shit and all of this. And I just wrote back, and all I said was, I'm not going to apologise for sticking up for women and children. And then we got talking, and I was like, all right, then I'll have a little chat. And this teenager, and at first I'm a bit wary because I could be getting trolled or it could be someone having me on. But I think it actually was a teenage girl, and she was telling me that she doesn't feel like a girl, she doesn't feel like a boy. And she was going into all this weird sort of, she knows gender's not real, but she's not going to acknowledge sex. And I just felt a bit like... Sorry, I forgot what my point was.
They don't want to see.
No, okay, I've remembered it now. I wrote on Twitter because I felt really sad for her, and I had a conversation and we agreed to talk again. And well, first of all, she flounced off and said she can't believe that I'm so ignorant and she's sick of people like me. And I said, okay, well, if you want to chat again, I'll be here. And she said, okay, cool. And I took that as a yes, I'm going to catch you up again, and not in a menacing way, of course, But I wrote on Twitter about it, and I said it made me feel really sad. And the reason it made me feel sad is because when I was a teenager, I was down the park, sipping White Lightning, trying not to be sick, and pretending that I listened to cool music when I definitely didn't listen to cool music.
Being normal.
And yeah, trying to flirt with a boy, but not knowing how to, that sort of thing. And even though I felt like a bit of a loser when I was a teenager, I look back and I definitely had a life, and I definitely learned from it. And though I have quite fond memories looking back, even if at the time I felt really out of place. And I just feel a bit like a lot of teenagers are really isolated and disconnected from reality, and they're not having these experiences that will help shape them into themselves.
They don't.
And it made me sad.
Online. They don't see sex
Yeah.
because they're online. They don't, because, you know, it's an anime avatar. So of course they're not going to see sex, and they don't want to. Then they come into the real life, and because they're so used to, you know, we don't see sex on the internet. It's going to be very hard to you know, especially if you're a teenager, you don't want to be a hypocrite, do you? You don't want to, you know, on the internet, I don't see sex, but in real life, I do. You don't want to be a hypocrite as a teenager. It's the worst. My daughter always calls me a hypocrite all the time. She's always pointing out when I'm being a hypocrite. Billie Eilish, you're a hypocrite, Mum. But then she said Billie Eilish is a hypocrite with the mask, you know.
Yeah, the Billie Eilish thing was interesting.
I know, I had one at 18. My mum used to make corsets, so I had one, and I'm like, oh, it's a bit much, you know, it's a bit raunchy. And my daughter's like, you're a hypocrite, Mum. They don't want to be seen as hypocrites, so of course they're just going to deny that sex is real, and especially if they're on the internet, it's not there, is it? Sex, especially with men.
I think that is a real problem as well with lockdown and kids being like taken out of school. I think that they're the hidden. I'm so furious basically at the way that children have been totally disregarded, and I think that this is going to cause huge damage to their mental health. You know, we know that social media companies, they just want to keep us online, and they don't want to keep us happy. Happy people don't buy things. They can make you anxious. They've shown, actually, they've proven that, you know, like companies will actually they'll sort of, they can inculcate anxiety into you to a certain point, and they know by now, because they've done so many tests on all of us, you get to a certain point where you're at breaking point, and then they'll be like, oh, you can buy this coat, here's discount voucher, you can get it next door, you can get it delivered to you tomorrow, that'll make you feel better. And they'll do it. They're deliberately trying to make us feel anxious and scared, and they want us online, because if we're not online, we're not creating data for them. And children, they want children to not be able to communicate with one another, to not be able to interact in the real world. They want us all to just stay in our houses in front of our computers, not go outside. It's dangerous outside, you might die. But, you know, meanwhile, like, I think the internet is just, it's just going to destroy our psyches. I mean, we've not even lived through like an entire generation. I don't know, there was dial-up when I was like 16, and it was like that. Okay, like
yeah,
and you couldn't grab the phone at the same time as being on the internet.
And if you're lucky, you get on MSN.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I can myself, I'm addicted to it. I'm not enjoying myself when I'm sitting here scrolling all the time. Like, you know, and for young kids especially, like, I was probably like 25 when it really hit, when it was all the time everywhere. But when your brain's not developed, and this is what you're normal, and little 2-year-olds with like phones, they just, you know, like staring, and the mums are not looking at them, they're looking at the phone, so the kid just gets a phone, and they like literally just know how to do it straight away. And you're like, wow.
But don't you think your article, Birdie, don't you think that the papers, they want the clicks, they know this is wrong?
Of course they do.
Those journalists,
of course
know
they do.
This is
and
abuse.
Do you know what? When we share that about and we kick off about it, they love it.
Yeah, it's all for clicks.
Pink News is the only reason Pink News is still going is because of all the TERFs getting on the comments. I cannot believe share this. Oh my god!
And I thought it was an interesting point you brought up about social media taking us to our breaking point, because actually there was a lot of shit going on social media, on Twitter particularly, over the weekend. And I noticed this. I think I took a screenshot of it. In the corner, there was, on the trending thing, there was a little thing that said, let's break it up with some fun. Here's some memes. And I thought, Twitter knows that we're all getting stressed out, and it's given us a little meme to keep us online, to make us smile for a minute, and then we go back to it. I just thought about that. I don't know where I'm going with that thought.
I remember hearing a quote from one of the founders of Facebook, who won't use it himself. That's a really interesting thing. So many of the sort of founding fathers, and they are all blokes, of social media platforms will not use it themselves because they know how bloody dangerous it is. And he essentially said that it's a massive social experiment, and what they've done is what any hacker will do, is that they've looked for a vulnerability in human psychology, and they've exploited it, and they don't know what the results will be. And he actually came out and said that.
That is what marketing is, though.
Yeah,
because
and it's
nobody wants to actually sell you happiness, because once you've got that happiness, you don't need them anymore.
plus you can't buy it.
But your corner
But
thing
if you
that
could,
Yeah.
Birdie, your little corner thing, like look at the memes. I think they want us schizophrenic. You know, 1 minute, just literally 1 minute, like emotions with the next. Literally, they want us schizophrenic.
yeah, it does. I do think you've hit on a good point there as well about because I think people are much more emotionally unregulated now than I remember people being when I was growing up. I mean, if somebody was moody in school, people would go, "Oh, cheer up, you goth," like that. But you can't say that to someone nowadays without it being a hate crime.
That is true.
Well, and exactly like what's the Scottish government doing? Did anybody see that scary advert the Scottish government put out about like hate crimes? Like, if I see something and I don't like it, I'm going to the police.
Oh my god!
If I see it and I don't like it, like, I'm sorry, that's
Fucking
probably a hate
hell.
crime itself for accident, isn't it? But you know,
Yeah, well, that's
how are we going to end up in society? We can't deal with our own problems.
not convincing me. I'm in Essex, so Scottish coppers not going to get me, are they?
Yeah. Well,
Well, you never know. Might do.
But if you see a robbery, they won't do anything. Will they? That's true. Then they're not going to come out.
If you see a robbery specifically happening to Chinzia Maria, don't do anything.
These would. I don't think they would.
yeah. Well, they don't go and investigate real crimes. When Mike got stolen, there was CCTV evidence, and I said, "Can you go and investigate, please?" The next day they shut it down, and I'm like, "They've got it there. Like, can you go and look?" And they were just like, "No." Meanwhile, if you've got hurt feelings on the internet, suddenly you can get the police to go around and visit your enemies. Do you know what I mean? This is just well, we're in for an interesting few years, I think. So, I'm gonna get vertigo. So, yeah.
I kind of feel like I'm waiting for a knock at the door.
Right, guys. Do you think we could all have a quick sum up of what we've chatted about today? A last minute goodbye before. So I'll start with the Anne Synop thing. I know we didn't chat about it, but has had a big impact today. I think the judge actually had a point in that we need an individual or individual cases to challenge rather than what today. No disrespect to Anne, she really did try, but yeah.
She should be she might appeal. I read that she may appeal. I hope she does, and you know, it's going to be us on the ground that again pull out our purses and donate, you know, because that's what we do. But I hope she does appeal, but good luck if she does.
Yeah, I think there'll be money there for all of these crowdfunders. I think so far we've found the money. I think it was £100,000 she had to raise to challenge the EHRC guidelines on. Is it this the way that they've been interpreting the single sex exemptions in law, isn't it? They've sort of misrepresented it, but apparently the judge says they haven't. But I just think it's appalling, basically. This idea that you need to prove that there's been damage. It's like Karen White, excuse me. There's numerous examples. Just women don't matter. I think this idea, this piece of wording, which is a legitimate means, a proportionate thing to a legitimate aim. I just think at the end of the day, women's dignity and safety is not considered a legitimate aim. At the end of the day, that's it. We're just not considered. It's not important. And yeah, again, men's feelings over women's safety. I don't know much about the law. It sounded like a bad judgment. I'm hoping that we can challenge it. I mean, if it has to be done on a case-by-case basis, so be it. But it's just one thing after another, isn't it? You think?
Basically, we're going to have to get women to speak up, and that is a really big ask.
Yeah.
A lot of pressure.
Yeah.
I was just going to say that I think the thing that's sort of...
Okay, well, thank you, everyone. I've really enjoyed the chat. I hope everyone else... Sorry, Jo, go on.
Oh no, not at all. I'm really sorry. It says a bit of a delay, and I didn't mean to cut across you. All I was going to say was I think it's
Yeah.
been really interesting to have mention of pornography and mention of the trans stuff, because I think there's such a sort of, I think essentially it's the same issue.
Crossover, yeah.
Abusive.
Yeah, I apologise for the delay. That's my fault this time. But thank you, everyone. I've really enjoyed it. I hope everyone else has enjoyed it. If you have, please share, like, and subscribe. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.